Oh, thank you. Thank you for the opportunity to run for supervisor, and thank you for coming tonight. It's been sort of tough. I'm not a career politician. Everybody knows, and I'm kind of the underdog. But I really believe that, it's been tough. I've interviewed with Don Miller with the Sentinel, and I said to him, hey, you can have somebody come into be the Einstein of a county supervisor, and you won't consider them unless they have name recognition, money behind them, endorsements, et cetera, et cetera. And then also I've been told by people that I haven't been studying up on the issues and I'm inexperienced, et cetera. But I'm going, well, how can I get experience? But as an outside observer of politics, as all you are, but something's not working. So I have little argument about there's little things working, like for example the state legislature. There's more bickering and fighting, and my dad told me to talk about this, but there's more bickering, more things about all this redistricting games that they play and partisan politics. And you have to ask what does really work? What happens when something really works with government? And for me, that is to have a leader that brings up whether Republican or Democrat, comes up with an idea and then stands by that, brings it to the table. And that idea, but also when that idea gets into the discussion, that the group brainstorms and perfects it, perhaps like a corporation like Apple Corporation that puts together a product and people brainstorm. So you need somebody like with the Board of Supervisors that really works together. That and I feel I actually know somebody said that I don't listen. I listen very intently, but I work very well with people. So you want somebody that works well within the Board of Supervisors to make those ideas happen. And I'll talk about my idea later. Thank you.
Good evening. Thank you everybody for coming tonight. My name is Eric Hammer, and I'm a fourth generation San Lorenzo Valley native. I currently have a construction company, successful small business construction company. I was raised in this community, by this community, with a core value, and that core value is to continue to give back to this community. My mom and my family, Nancy Macy, Linda Moore, the people that have been raising me from a child to an adult have taught me the importance of a small community and local leadership. And that's what I bring to the table, is local leadership and an understanding of this valley, and our community. I've shown that as being elected to the Boulder Creek Parks and Rec and serving there 8 years, taking a known dysfunctional organization and turning it into the best small district voted on by our peers in the state. By working with nonprofit organizations such as Mountain Community Resource Center to come in a time of need to regrow its board when they were looking at possibly having to shut their doors. I was able to hire a new ED, turn that organization around, hire a great ED. And today, we merged with Community Bridges and are a sustainable program. And it's one of the highlights of this community. I also created and formed Youth First, a nonprofit organization for the kids. This valley is about the kids. The kids are our future, and I look forward to your support. Thank you.
Good evening. Thank you for being here, and thank you for your interest in our community. Usually when we open, we talk about ourselves and what we've done, and I do believe that I am the most qualified because of my experience, the knowledge of the issues that I have, and the people that I know at the county, federal, and state level, and to talk about the issues that are important to me, how we govern, public safety, transportation. These are qualities that are especially important, I believe, during this time of realignment when the state is pushing more responsibilities and the biggest change that we've seen in governance since Proposition 13 in 1978. But rather than expound on that, I want to talk about concerns that I've heard about when I've been walking precinct to precinct, and I've done it twice over in some parts of the district. You're understandably concerned about your own economic well-being and adamant about the protection of our natural resources. You want better education opportunities and to feel safe and secure in your own home and in your community as a whole. You cherish your independence, but feel that the 5th District is the 5th wheel of the 5 supervisorial districts, that you're not getting your fair share, especially in the Upper Valley from Felton on up. And I believe you're right. And you're correct for many reasons that you've given to me that I really can't get into all of them right now. But over the years, the Upper Valley has not gotten its fair share. Roads is one of them. It's a disaster waiting to happen with the next catastrophe that we have. Transportation network needs attention, and we need to have a library at Felton. And I was one of those that signed the quarter-cent sales tax extension to go on forever. And the San Lorenzo Valley needs it, and it deserves it. I have a record of accomplishment in my elected before, and I ask for your support this time as county supervisor.
What is the responsibility of a supervisor, and what authorities do you perceive you will hold in that position?
The responsibilities of a supervisor are large. We govern a multi-million-dollar budget. We oversee and make land use decisions. We take a look at health and welfare. We look at transportation, infrastructure. But I think one of the most important things that we do is reach out and talk to this community when we're making the decisions. I think that the responsibility of a supervisor, a good supervisor, is someone who has the ability to listen, to bring people together, and make a decision based on the consensus of that group that comes. The supervisor will be making policies that we're going to have to look at in the 5th District for years to come. We'll be taking a look at doing updates to the general plan, which is a strategic plan, which is a roadmap of where we're going. We need a local voice during that process, somebody that understands what life is like in the San Lorenzo Valley, because they've lived it, and they are living it, and they're going to be living it for decades to come. That's what I think the role of a supervisor is. Thank you.
I think the most direct and important issue that we look over is land use in Santa Cruz County. And it's important because we value that very, very greatly in our whole county, and particularly in this region. We come here because we love the surroundings that we have, the natural resources that we want to keep whole. That is very critical that we do that. And we are going to be coming up on overlooking an updated general plan in the next few years. It's vitally important we have somebody that is there that can coordinate activities and work with others. And through my public service, whether it be in non-charitable, in the business community, through the business community, or as your elected state assembly member and state senator, I reached out and listened to you. I would get the law enforcement personnel throughout my district and have them come to me and say, what are we doing for you and what are we doing to you? What can we do for you? I would call the healthcare providers, and we are agents of the state, and we need to follow the state law and under the parameters that we have so that we can provide the services that you need and deserve. That is the most important thing for a county supervisor. In the land use area, we need to coordinate activities so we can be assured that the slow growth that we have and that we respect, and the general plan that we respect today, that we have the adequate resources such as water, transportation network, the sewage treatment, all vital. We have to see that as we grow, as slow as it is, we maintain those services that are so basic and so needed for all of our citizens. I've been able to do this and reach out and talk to my constituents in former public office, and I pledge to you that I will do the same if I were to be elected as county supervisor of the 5th District. Thank you.
Oh, well, how important is the county to you? How much money do we take from you to provide a service? Which is a lot. And so we need to provide the most effective service for your tax dollar, and we need to maintain fiscal solvency. That's the utmost important thing, which has been neglected. In addition, I'm from Marin County. I remember coming down Santa Cruz County when I was a child and went to a college. It was a ecology camp in Bonnie Doon, and I felt that Santa Cruz County was, you know, the environmental king of the world, but it really isn't. There's really a lot of work to do, and I've been involved with it. I don't have time to really go into what I've been involved with that in that regard, but it does exist, a lot of it, in the general plan. And I do feel that with my civil engineering experience and also my passionate environmentalism, educated in the sciences, is really critical. When they revamp the general plan in the 90s, they put together a large group, but still the document, I believe, is a work in progress. You know, I believe that we need to keep all the good things that are in it, but we need to make a document that's very easy and understood and really makes what we want. That's what that document is. What do you want this land to look like for your grandchildren to live in? And that's what it's all about. And I believe that that's an important thing. We could become, if we wanted to, we could be a worldwide leader in environmentalism. We're not that. We're not even there. We're not a worldwide leader in environment. We're not a leader in the Bay Area. Some of the counties, like Marin County, has actually done a lot more. So anyway, that's that. Thank you.
In your opinion, what is the best way to balance the county budget? In particular, in what areas would you increase revenues and what areas would you further cut expenses?
Well, we need a reality check and to see clearly what we have and what we have to spend as the total budget itself. Then we have to set the priorities of what's most important to us. And each and every one of us want the same thing up here. We want the best services we can provide in transportation and healthcare and education, which we don't have a direct oversight of. Of course, the school districts do. We all want to do that. But I feel very confident in the way I can handle a budget. In the private sector that I've been involved in the charitable nonprofit work that I've been asked to be a leader in time and time again, and we've succeeded. We've reached our goal. We just need to live within our means, unlike the federal government, and we have to. So we have to set our priorities, and I can't tell you where we should cut because everything has been reduced, but I can tell you what my priorities are. And the first one is public safety. We have to have our citizens feel safe and sound in their own homes and their own communities overall. And from what I'm hearing from you, when I walk throughout the district, transportation, the network is really critical for that public safety and the responses that we get from our fire and police personnel. It's critically important, too, that we plan correctly. We have a reduced amount of land to build small amounts of new residential units or commercial uses. We have to make sure that those fit, and we have to work with the business community, I believe, more aggressively to reach out to let them know what is available here so we can provide economic opportunities for the citizens of our district and our county so they can live here and work here and provide for their families and not go over the hill every day. Thank you.
Most of my campaign is based on economic development. I want to really try to focus in on that to generate more revenue towards the county. And then not only that, it's very helpful in that regard because when you create more jobs, you have less people that are more dependent. So that's really been my main area of focus. I'm, trying to direct money from the state. I believe that should be a priority as well. But it's not really that guaranteed to get any money from the state. But and in addition, in making cuts, I really believe that having a board of economic development to review all the different departments of the county, we may need to make some tough cuts, but and that's all only based on services that you know, we take money from you to provide services, so if there's certain services that aren't effective and aren't really serving the public, you know, I believe in transparency, and to the ones that you believe are not worth your tax dollar, and if we need to cut them, if we made a tough decision to cut them, then that's really the way. It's a difficult, running a budget's is tough. And my experience is basically large construction projects. I'm a construction estimator, and you know, I've learned to budget money that for certain items for large construction projects. The county budget's very large and complicated, so again, that's why I wanted this help of a services of an advisory board to look more carefully on where those cuts need to be made, if they need to be made. Thank you.
Our county is better than most. You know, we have been able to make some very difficult choices and very difficult cuts. We've seen departments change. We've seen department heads change. We've seen the unions renegotiate their contracts. We've seen the sheriff's department renegotiate theirs and change their pension plan. We are fortunate enough to have people in leadership at the county that have been making these tough choices. We have more tough choices to make because we are going to see a continued shortfall. My promise as supervisor would be to continue to involve this community in those decision-making processes, to also look outside of our county to other jurisdictions that are going through the same problem and see how they have been able to overcome it. Because we aren't unique right now, because what we've all learned is the state hasn't been working. And that's for years. What we need and what we've been doing is focusing locally and making those cuts locally. We have some tough decisions. We do need to prioritize what we want to see and what services we want. We talk about transportation. The talk out there right now through the RTC is just take a look at a DMV tax. That could raise $2.3 million for transportation. That's one thought. Another school of thought is a half-cent sales tax. This was from John Presley, the Director of Public Works, to help with road improvements. Right now, we are bleeding everywhere. We need to come together as a community, and I would need your input on exactly what your priorities are, because everybody is saying roads, everybody is saying public safety, everybody is saying the environment, everybody is saying that they want to make the building department easier. But the truth is, what are your real needs right now? Thank you.
What can you do as county supervisor to impact health services in the county?
I do believe that we need to try to make sure that we probably find alternate methods of financing health services. I know that, I really, the in-home health care services, I felt that possibly we could include customers that could afford to pay to contribute to that system. And also there may be other ways of including that same strategy with other parts of the health services industry. And also this whole thing about, you know, I'm really excited about trying to help improve the economy, because when you create jobs, again, you take people off this need for health services, because they're going to get money for that from their jobs. So that I believe that that's kind of a strategy to do to maintain that. But I absolutely support the existing services that we have now, and also we went to the Human Care Health Alliance. All those organizations are fantastic. We need to, you know, support that. The Valley churches and the Mountain Community Resources that are pertinent to this area. All those areas are fantastic, and you know, I fully support continued support from the county for those organizations. Thank you.
Health services, the Human Care Alliance is a fantastic safety net of programs. But before we depend upon the safety net, we need to take a look at what county services are available. Up in the 5th District, there are very few. In fact, I think they're limited to almost none. In fact, I was at a League of Women Voters presentation through County Health Department, and I asked, what are your plans? What are your future plans for outreach in the San Lorenzo Valley in the 5th District? And they said, we have none. We have no idea how we're going to serve your community. To me, that's appalling, because there should be a plan. They may not be able to afford it, but they should at least be thinking about us and our needs. My experience with Mountain Community Resource Center and that safety net of programs that we were talking about, the Human Care Alliance, we help pick up the pieces. We help with the counseling. We help with the food through Second Harvest, through Mountain Community Resource Center's Second Harvest, through the Valley Churches. Valley Churches is known throughout the state for the services that they provide. And that was formed right here in this community by people like yourselves who had an idea and made it happen. So health services are extremely important, and we need to think outside the box, how we're going to bring some of those support services here. I was walking up in Blue Ridge 2 weeks ago, and I talked to a gentleman who has to go down every day to Emmeline to get blood transfusion. It takes him an hour and a half to get down there. Sometimes he'll sit for 6 hours to get service and then has to find a way back because public transportation can't fit his needs. We also need to take a look at Lift Line and other programs and expanding them so we can provide services to this outreaching area. Thank you.
We are very fortunate that we had a forward-looking county back in the 1970s when revenue sharing, federal revenue sharing was cut, and we coordinated our efforts to form, this county did, to form the Human Care Alliance, and which has been mentioned. We need to sustain that. It is a very cost-efficient and a very effective way to provide healthcare services. We need to work with the nonprofits, which I have done plenty of. I was chairman with my wife Mary 2 years ago of the Second Harvest Food Bank, and we set a record. And now I'm the advisory board chair this year, and we set another record. The problem is that more people, or some people who were giving 3 and 4 years ago, are now on the receiving end of that. It's a real critical issue that we have, and we have an excellent health and human services departments in the county government. We have a director that just left that was just outstanding, one of the best in the state, and we have a new one that is terrific as well. They have great leadership capabilities and abilities, and they've shown it, and we have to listen to them on how we can best provide it. So we need to look to those who are in position to direct what we can do in health and human services in this county. We need to continue our support of the nonprofit charitable units that are here. And we need to look to you and you and you and every family here to know how serious diabetes type 2 is in our county, in our nation. 1 out of 3 in this nation, children, have that now, and it's more in this county probably. What debilitating factor that can have on the child is terrific. The future cost in health care is enormous. We all have to work together to bring that to our attention. Thank you.
What experience do you have working with law enforcement, and how will you make sure the Valley is served correctly?
I have a lot of experience with working with law enforcement in partnership with Sergeant Ross in the back on a multitude of areas. First through Boulder Creek Parks and Rec, and trying to deal with drug issues at some of our parks, with vandalism, with people sleeping in the parks. We were able to work together with the community to make Junction Park and the dam very, very family friendly. Through the Business Association, reaching out to the Sheriff's Department to provide more beat cops at night so that there was more of a presence. So you didn't have as much drug activity, which today, you're not seeing it. Through my working as a contractor and reaching out and rebuilding a business down south of Felton here, there was an RV park that was a known meth lab. and a new business owner came in, and the first thing I said is, we've got fantastic resources here. Reach out to the Sheriff's Department. I introduced that business owner with the Sheriff's Department, and they worked together to change the activity that was going on in that park. And from that, we now have a fantastic destination, tourist destination. There's over 26,000 people that come into those RV parks that provide tourism, that bring money into this economy. And working well with law enforcement is inviting. You know, if you take an area and you change it, you invite people into it, and then that helps spur economic development. So I've worked with law enforcement both through Boulder Creek Parks and Rec, as president of the Boulder Creek Business Association, with helping us with Mountain Community Resource Center, with the homelessness, and also as a business owner working with another business owner to help change our area. Thank you.
I think this is really where experience can really count and really matter to you in the 5th District. When I was in the State Senate, I was chair of the Public Safety Committee, one of the most important of the numerous committees that are there. And during that time, I talked to sheriff's deputy and law enforcement personnel, and it wasn't just removed from home. As I said before, I would call the law enforcement officers throughout my district and into the individual counties themselves to say, what is the problem? What are your biggest problems? How can we correct them? And what are your needs that we can help you with? It'll be much more direct when I can work with those here in the county level than it was in the state level, and I look forward to that because public safety is a top priority of mine. I've, in my discussions, again, with Sergeant Jim Ross and others, that to know that what are the biggest problems here? Well, it's probably 80% are related to drugs of some type of violation there, or domestic violence. That's what the big problems are, and how do we best address them? I think we have an outstanding sheriff, Phil Wowack, who has endorsed me, as well as his 2 predecessors, Steve Robbins and Mark Tracy, as well as the Deputy Sheriff's Association of Santa Cruz County. That's because they have confidence in me that I will hear their needs and understand their needs and what we need to do to provide the public safety that we all deserve. And it's not easy with these cuts that have happened. The Sheriff's Department has been cut by 20 or 30 personnel. That is a top priority when we get an economic rebound that I think we should look into to make sure that we can provide adequate public safety to the people of the 5th District and to the people of Santa Cruz County.
I've never been a cop before, but I grew up, my dad served in Marin County, was deputy district attorney, then he got elected as a judge for 2 terms. So that's my experience and involvement with that, and then also been community involved with the sheriff. To me, again, this is an essential service, so that cannot be neglected. But I do believe the Board of Supervisors needs to provide tough love to make sure that the Sheriff's Department does run up to its absolute best service for the community. And I'm not too big of a fan of Phil Wowack. And I think you all remember when that woman went hiking. She was an avid hiker and she lived in San Lorenzo Valley, and she barely survived. And the Sheriff's Department did not search for this woman, even though it would have been a simple task to go ask her friends. Okay, yeah, she's a hiker. She's an avid hiker. Go out there with a dog. Dogs are very you'd be surprised how quickly people can be found by dogs. They have canine patrols that would have found this woman, and luckily, anyway, she survived. And that was the same week is that when they took that guy to get an MRI, my health service won't pay to get an MRI, but this guy's big as a football player, and they took him down to go get an MRI, and the story. He broke into a children's center, and thank God nothing happened during that time. And then also the County Board of Supervisors had made a moratorium about the smart meters and told Sheriff Wowack to go protect that. And although I believe that the moratorium was ineffective, but I don't want whiners. I want people to do their job, and I believe the supervisors need to give tough love to make sure that sheriff's departments provide the services that you deserve. Thank you.
Many of our public agencies non-governmental organizations and public service nonprofits are redundant. What specifically would you do as supervisor to eliminate redundancies in the delivery of services?
Well, I think that we need to identify that. We need to look as good, and I think it's very good, Human Care Alliance that we have here. There could be some overlap there. I think we need to have that group of folks who did have a forum of their own. This is our fourth in 4 days, as a matter of fact. But I think that it's vitally important that we hear from them how they can even coordinate their services to a better degree. We have different issues in that Human Care Alliance that need to be addressed. Some of them are overlapping. Some of them have to do with provision of food or shelter or providing clothing. I think what we need to do is to get them together and find out where can there be some coordination of effort. I wouldn't say so. I think the services that are needed are real here. So I don't think that it's for lack of need that we need to reduce these programs. I think it's more efficiency in government operations that'll provide these services. I think there is some potential for that. I can't quantify exactly what that is, but I think it's available and we should take a look at it. And we should, in doing that, we should not be the ones, or I wouldn't be the one to tell them what they should do. I would, until at least I have a better look at that whole program and what they are doing in an efficient and effective way, as I mentioned before, but see how we can even do a better job in that regard, because we're not still on the rebound here, and we're probably going to have even further reductions in this next budget session, but we need to talk to them and get their input. That's the best way to do things, is to listen to people before you make your decision.
Well, I believe it needs to be reviewed again. This, it's an easy subject, but you don't want to put money and just dump it into something and not analyze it and take a look at, how effective each of these organizations are. But my understanding is the ones that I'm familiar with are very effective, and I fully support them and some of the people that I talk to about exactly what they do. But bottom line is these organizations, everything that we spend money on, we need to review it and try to make it the best as possible. And this is not being hard, trying to make people's lives miserable, but to try to direct the money so that it gets used in the best way to provide the best service. And that needs to be very stressed. Don't just say, okay, we're going to keep Human Care Alliance and we're going to give you X amount of money and we're not going to hold you to what exactly you're going to do. No. That's the job of the supervisors. We need, that's the job of you, being transparent and to look at and make sure that these organizations, every organization, tries to do the best job that they can do. And when I like happy workers. I'm happiest when I know that I'm doing something. If I'm working for the Healthcare Alliance and I know that I'm doing something that's of extreme value to the public, I'm happier. So that's what I want. Happy workers doing good things. Thank you.
Duplicated services, the more agencies out there that are providing food to the needy, the better, if you ask me. We're seeing that happening right here in the San Lorenzo Valley right now. We're seeing Mountain Community Resource Center starting to give food aid out on opposite days that Valley Churches is giving food out. And through the database that's being created by both agencies, they're unduplicated services to people, even though they're giving the same service. So with that said, we do need to take a look at what services might be duplicated that would be better off by merging them. You're seeing that happening now. Like I said earlier, Santa Cruz County, we are at the forefront of providing services through the nonprofit, through the county, through the private sector. I know there were 3 sectors we were dealing with. Just trying to keep them all together. We've seen the cuts at the county. You know, I do not feel that that statement is fully accurate, because if there was low-hanging fruit out there where there were multiple departments doing the same work, I believe that our leadership locally here is strong enough to catch that. And you're seeing departments merging together because of duplicated services or trying to streamline the effectiveness of it. You've actually seen that happen also in the building department. You've seen changes, and you've seen administration let go and merging and reassigned. I think that we are lucky here in Santa Cruz. We've made a lot of those changes. You've seen that through Community Bridges that has taken an umbrella of 6 family resource centers to help streamline it and save money. Thank you.
With specific examples, how will you support the business community?
Specific examples, I believe my idea to create a Board of Economic Development would be extremely helpful to help improve the economy. It wouldn't cost, as you know, these advisory boards, they pay meeting stipends, etc. They recently hired some full-time staff people to do economic development. And so if I do make the runoff, I decided I was going to meet with the Sonoma County Supervisor to develop some propositions and tailor it for Santa Cruz County that would basically consist of strictly business professionals, a diverse crowd of business professionals on this board. And in that, and also include 2 standing supervisors on the board. And I believe this will help with the county in many ways, because one, the county is the second largest employer of the county, so the more efficient that it is, it'll help the economy. And 2, there's a lot of it needs to be more customer orientated, and there's actually a candidate that's running in District 2, Miss Rich McGinnis, that bought the Seabreeze Tavern, and the county's killing him. He's almost putting him out of business, and he's running on that. And so there's things of this issue that needs to be corrected with the county to help with the economy and help with, all you folks there. We need to get more people that are business talented people into the county government to help. I couldn't think of a more helpful thing right now to have a business and create jobs in this county right now. That is absolutely a very helpful community service that we need, and I believe that this Board of Economic Development will help achieve that. Thank you.
I think I'm already starting to help the business community locally. Let's start locally, and then we'll take it more to the county. Locally, as president of the Boulder Creek Business Association, I have been working with the Chamber, with Felton Business Association, to try and unify this corridor. And we took one issue, and that is a scenic corridor and historic preservation. We taking a look at how to promote this core through lighting it, through doing common flags, and having that start at the top of Highway 9 and 236 and Saratoga, so we start promoting ourselves right away. You take this philosophy of joining with the business associations and the chamber, and you take it and expand it to where we're having open dialogue with Santa Cruz Chamber, the Santa Cruz Business Associations, Scotts Valley Chamber, Scotts Valley Business Association, and countywide, and start putting together a business strategic plan on how we're going to promote ourselves, because tourism in our county can be utilized and it can be marketed. We have the best park system in the state. We've got Big Basin, we've got Henry Cowell, we've got Natural Bridges, and we have the Boardwalk, which is not necessarily a state park, but it's a state attraction. We need to utilize the resources that we have to promote us. That's the first. The second part, you're starting to see it happen today, and this is where the government really can come into play, is with the building department. The change of usage for non-conforming businesses is a huge advantage for small businesses. It opens up the opportunity for someone like me to go into a small storefront that used to be a certain type of business and turn it into an office space or turn it into something a little bit different. It will attract business. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr.
First and foremost, we have to change our image of Santa Cruz County and change it to an image that is business friendly, because it's not now. We need to coordinate our activities in the planning department, and so we don't have a new department of economic development, so to speak, but we can allow and working with the county, the chambers of commerce, the business councils, and so forth, of what is available that could be used for a small business, for a manufacturing plant, and we don't have many spaces like that outside of the cities that we can do that. We need to allow people to know and be fair to them and say, this is what you could do if you wanted to do it. Or if they come in and say, this is what I'd like, I'd need a 40,000 square foot plant to do this. And this is not to say that we want to have hotels line Highway 9 or something of that nature. What we want to do is live in something and coordinate our efforts in an environmentally friendly business growth pattern, so we can have the citizens of this county work here, and they don't have to drive over the hill or from Boulder Creek down to Santa Cruz. We need to coordinate our efforts too with the cities, because there is not too much love between the cities or between the county and the cities in some respects. But the fact of the matter is, it'll be better for all of us if we have better economic opportunities for everyone here, whether it's in the unincorporated area or whether it's in the cities themselves. We can make this a business-friendly atmosphere, and we can do it in an environmentally friendly way as well, because we can do it with agriculture, tourism, education, research, and high technology, which are all economic-friendly businesses, and that's the kind of businesses we should build on in Santa Cruz County.
Thank you. Tell us what you think the challenges are in planning reform in the county.
There's several challenges. I think one of the first challenges is perception. I work through the building department, at least 3 or 4 days a week, and I've seen a significant change in the last 6 months to a year, and that's not getting out into the public. So perception. When I go out and talk to my clients and say, hey, we need to go get a building permit, they say to me, why do I want to go down there? They're not ever going to allow me to do this project. So we need to be advocates for A, first of all, utilizing it. B, what I am seeing happen with the new planning director, she's reaching out to this community and she's starting to involve us in the process. And when I say us, I mean some of you sitting out here, the general public, professionals in the design trades, architects and engineers, and general contractors, and the business sector, bringing us all into focus groups and talking to us. That is a very good first step. The next step that needs to happen, I think, is we need to have an over-the-counter permit process where you've got design professionals, a client or a customer or one of you out here has just spent $45,000 on architecture, soils, geology, everything that's being asked for, and you come in, the design professionals are the ones that are held liable. The general contractor is the one that's held liable. The county is not the one that's held liable when this process. This is the exception. We cannot lower our standards on environmental protection. In fact, we need to strengthen it. We need to take a look at water conservation. We need to take a look at the riparian corridors and the gross pollutants that some of these older houses have today. And by fixing them, we can actually better our environment.
First of all, I think we need to respect our general plan that we have now, because I think it is a good one and is a good foundation for whatever is going to be amended in it in the coming years. I do think it is more difficult to oversee how we're going to proceed from this day forward, because there's literally less land that is built upon which we can build something in the great natural resources and the surroundings that we have. So I think we have to respect the general plan. We We have to be really serious about it. And at the same time, when we're going through the general plan process in the future in the next few years, we need to really look ahead as small or as little as the growth is going to be in the future. We have to provide the transportation network, the water resources, make sure that they're there, and plan for that at the same time. The infrastructure is lacking now because we didn't plan for it as slow as the growth was for what we've been, the pace that we've been growing at in the recent years. I do think that we should also, and I think the county is, they just last month or in March, they did look at changing some building permit processes, and so you can come in and get a permit if the structure or the destruction of what you want to do is less than 65% of the rebuilding that particular project. I think that is a very good start. I think it's going to work well. We have to be more clear and have a one-stop shop type of a reception area in the planning department. If we don't, we're going to end up with disasters like Zionne Oaks that should have never been considered for a big project like that on an environmentally sensitive piece of land that cost the county $1 million in the end. We need to look closer than what's been looked at before in that regard.
Thank you, Mr.
One only needs to take a look at the general plan, and I agree we need to. There's a lot of work that's been into it, and we need to follow it at this point. But take a look at the general plan, read it, take a look at the zoning and where I live in Lompico, and you'll come to the conclusion that there really needs to be a lot of work done here. I don't believe that you could follow this plan and foresee what this county will look like in the year 3000, for example. So I believe it's a work in progress, and we need to maintain what's in the general plan that makes sense. And then there's a lot of, like I said, there's parcels that are really unbuildable, and that we need to decide, okay, this should just be protected open space. And I mean, I'm talking about in Lompico, for example, there's lots that they gave away when you subscribed to the Chronicle in the 1930s or whatever, you know, because Hearst owned all the land up there. There's a lot of there's kind of a big mess if you really get into it, and there's a lot of work involved with that. In regards to getting building permits, I'm really familiar with that, and I'm aware of the problems. There was I know actually growing up, and there was times, especially in Marin County, where getting a permit was actually, might have cost $500 or something like that, but it was a worthwhile investment because you had a building inspector. You didn't have to deal with a lot of going to different departments, blah blah blah. And the guy was really helpful, and he actually solved a lot of problems. That's what we need to return to. And it's kind of a complicated situation, but again, I wanted to employ the Board of Economic Development and also helping with that task to make the planning, to make it more customer oriented. Thank you.
What are the most pressing water issues in the valley, and what would you do about it?
I think the most pressing water issue is Lompico right now. It's probably one water line break from a disaster, and I know that they are working with the San Lorenzo Valley County Water District to rectify that. I think that they may tie in, that is for them to their independent districts. They have to negotiate that, and I hope that they can come to some agreement because I think it'll result in something that's better for all. Water is a critical resource, the most critical one of all, I believe, and I think that we need to make sure that we protect it. And we can do that with tie-ins with other districts like Lompico and the San Lorenzo Valley. I think that is a great first step. I think as we look out in a broader sense, there's a discussion on the desalinization plant that is going to would be very costly, but without the environmental report, which is due next month, and what the impact would be on energy costs there, I'm not sure what we should do with that, but that could even have an effect on us. That is between the city and the Soquel Creek County Water District, but it is critically important in the whole, when we look at the whole water situation in this county, that we protect against saltwater intrusion, which has already come into several of our wells along the coastline. Again, we need to see where we can tie in with one another so that when the water resources is plentiful, and we can restore the water in the aquifers that are here and replenish them so that in dry periods, we will have a better source of water when those do come along, and they will, as we are finding out this year. I think coordination between the water districts is critical, and I think the County Board of Supervisors can be an intermediary in helping that happen, and I would like to see that happen. I am known as a consensus builder, and I think I could really help in this regard.
I'm on the board of directors for the Lompico Water District, and it's a water district that has it's full service. It has treatment plants, and it has high elevation changes, and it only has 500 customers. And we came to the conclusion that we really didn't have the overhead to maintain it, and so we're really trying to fix everything up for the San Lorenzo Valley, fix up everything so that when they do take over the water district, they won't have any problems. They did say that when they took over Felton, they did have some issues, and so they had to, which they don't want to have happen at this time. So, but in the long run, I believe it will be a benefit because we're adding 500 customers, will be 6% of San Lorenzo Valley Water District, and will contribute to their customer base. And so these water districts, when they're larger, they can cover the overhead, and it works a lot better. I really am interested in long-term water conservation measures. I'd like to have the goal of returning San Lorenzo River to its pristine state as much as possible, and that involves, I've been studying the history of the, sewage treatment in San Lorenzo Valley. And I do believe that more recycled water use at homes to actually try to get federal money to do that, and then that also has the beauty of decreasing the pollution, the water pollution, and it also provides for water conservation. And lastly, I was sort of interested in, I know that the sand quarry operator wanted to build a reservoir for more water storage. I'm talking about to build more water storage facilities, to build a reservoir at no cost, because he would be able to sell the sand and build a reservoir, and it could be a recreational area and also provide water storage. Thank you.
Okay, the pressing issues in the valley are well known. I met with the director of LAFCO when I first started out looking at this 6 months ago, and said, what are the problems in the 5th District? Number one was Zayene Water District and the failing infrastructure that they have, kind of like the rest of the roads in the county. And the first thing I did was reach out to some of their board members, reach out to their community to see what could be done. I went to several of the meetings that were at the San Lorenzo Valley Water District. I met with the director of the San Lorenzo Valley Water District so that I could understand the situation. There's a lot at stake here. And we're talking about fire danger. We're talking about human health, a safety and health hazard where the state could step in and where the county at that point would have to step in and take over the responsibility. It's a huge issue. And I think it's an important enough issue that the supervisors need to pay attention and help the special districts and help the community to get consensus. I think that's our job. And showing up to those meetings and speaking in front of the people that were there, I think I'm doing that, and there's things that are outside, controls that are outside of both districts. We're looking at fish and game. We're looking at NOAA, who's coming in and taking a look at our streams, the amount of water that's in them. This merger isn't just about being able to connect and intertie. There's a lot of other state agencies that are involved in this. It's about a process of letting the community really understand it. We need to also look at more conservation here in building practices, green building practices, through rainwater catchment systems, through retention and detention systems. We have the innovative septic systems, not sewer, septic. Thank you.
Mr. Mayor. Why are roads in the worst shape in recent record? And is getting our roads back in shape a priority for you? If they are a priority, what actions would you take regarding this?
It's definitely a priority. I'm a civil engineer, and I have 23 years experience in public works construction. So I would like to look at budgeting more money. I believe the county, that's one of their main obligations, is to provide safe roads. I've been told people come from out of state and they go, look, you got all this money and people, and our roads are better. And then I know that, there's a lot of roads that our Caltrans maintain, so that's sort of a different subject. We need to make sure that we, communicate well with Caltrans to make sure that our, those roads. But the county roads, that Mr. Priestley has said to do a chip seal, major chip seal, which I happen to agree with it, but he wanted, it may be perhaps necessary, but a tax, it was a 50-cent sales tax to do that. And I always tell everybody, with road maintenance, you might get even more costs, excuse the pun, down the road to fix them, because once you start to lose the subgrade, when you get cracks in the road and the subgrade starts to go, then if we really want smooth roads again, basically, we could become a third world country if we don't address this issue. So I really take this personally, and I really believe that that's one of the main reasons why I decided to run, because I felt that my construction experience in this regard can help prioritize projects so that they're the most effective, and so that we get the best bang out of our buck, and so that we do have these roads. And this also helps with our tourism. That's another factor, to have good roads helps with our tourism industry as well. Thank you.
Historically, our roads in the San Lorenzo Valley have been bad. So when you ask what's led to it, what has been leading to it is 30 years or more of lack of maintenance. I was up on Blue Ridge, and the owner of one of the houses there said, you know what, I haven't seen a county vehicle working on this road in over 30 years. In fact, when you get further up on that road and it turns in to Grove Street, on the map, they connect. They don't anymore. Al Haynes, who lived at the top of the road up there, who's one of the key environmentalists in this community, talking about water, you can't even get down this road anymore. Fire engines can't get up there. Here's the issue. It takes $10 to $12 million a year to provide proper maintenance to our 700 miles plus of road in this county. They could do a patch with 4 to 6 million. 5 to 6 is what John said. They're operating on $1.2 million worth of revenue. It's impossible to keep up our road structure with that. Just talking to a gentleman a few minutes ago in the bathroom, and curiously enough, he talked about roads, and it's like, we need to also look out to other jurisdictions, San Mateo in this case in Saratoga, to take a look at Bear Creek, how we can fix both sides of it. So, that's a huge commuter-based road for a lot of us in this community. How we're going to solve the issue? We're going to have to take a look. Some of it has to go out to the voters because there's not enough money to go around. You are going to make the decision on whether or not there's going to be some outside funding that way. Again, the San Lorenzo Valley is unique. We don't have curbs. We don't have gutters. We don't have sidewalks. We've got roads that were built in the late 1800s and early 1900s. It's going to take a long time to make those changes. But luckily enough, RTC did just allocate some money for local roads. Thank you.
As I did in Monday night's Scotts Valley Chamber, I'd like to add a little levity to this. This is from a story in the Santa Cruz Sentinel, June 5th, 1907, in which my great-grandfather Duncan, who helped found Big Basin as a first real estate park in California, editor of the Sentinel, struck a responsive chord when he said that the most important thing in this valley was good roads. Said he, "Your future depends more upon roads than upon anything else. See your supervisor and your town trustees about it." So some things never change, but we should change it. And we've neglected the road system in this county, not for just 2 or 3 years, but for 20 or 30 years. And it's going to take us a long time to come back. And the importance of it can't be overstated. When we have major arteries, such as our escape route from Highway 9 in the Upper Valley, Alba Road down to 1 lane, Zayani, a major a road, down to one lane. Felton Empire, another main road, down to one lane. We've got to get our act together and see what we can do about this, and we can't do it with the $56.40 road repair tax that we have in our unincorporated area. It is vitally critical that we do this, not only for the public safety aspect of fire responses, police responses, but for the economy. The people in business are going to look to this area because they love the area, but they're going to look to the transportation network and the education system that we provide here in this county, along with the government services that we provide. And roads is a critical factor in that, and we need to address it, and it may be that we have to go to a tax measure to do it.
Thank you, Mr. Who are the significant stakeholder groups in the valley?
Ooh, I like that. Well, let's start off with the main stakeholder group. That's everybody who lives in this valley. They're the number one stakeholder. Above nobody else, they are the number one. And they're who I want to reach out to and who I have been reaching out to for years. And then let's start breaking that down a little bit. I think our youth and our kids are a huge stakeholder. In fact, they're our future, and there's not enough services to go around for the kids. When I grew up here, there was Forest Pool, there was a bowling alley, there was a skate park. We don't have those places for kids to go anymore. So there's one stakeholder. The seniors, that's another stakeholder. And again, their services are getting cut. Meals on Wheels for the first time ever is in the possibility of a waiting list. In fact, they had a waiting list, but certain groups and people out in the community donated some money so that it could keep going. Another area is you've got your kids, you've got your seniors, now you've got your families, with young kids that are losing their homes for foreclosures. And that is a section that I'm seeing more and more. As I'm walking these districts, I've gone up streets where 7 out of 15 houses, are empty or foreclosed or got signs on the door. We really need to look at that. You've got your nonprofits, you've got your education, you've got there's so many. You've got your dog owners. Every time I hear about dog parks, I got to bring it up. Boulder Creek Parks and Rec. Thank you.
If you want a recipe of how to lose an election, you put one segment against the other or more important than the other. Everybody is equally important. It's the segment of our society, and we work in the government to provide services and oversee the land use. But it is to provide, I think, to help those. We need to do that. Everybody wants to do a better job for everybody else here. There's no question about it in the valley. And when I've been walking door to door, these are some of the greatest people, no matter if they have a couple dogs, only one of which has bitten me in my 6 months of walking. But, speaking of dogs, but let that go. But everybody is equally important. And they all have their causes, and each and every one of your causes is most important to you, so you think it's most important. And that's what we have to decide upon when we're county supervisors. As a whole, what do we do to serve you that are the most important people in our district? And again, I'll go back to what I think are the priorities that we have. And I think I just couldn't, I don't think it would be a good thing if we didn't have law enforcement personnel in our streets. If we didn't have people running retail stores here or there, and if we didn't have people in our classrooms teaching, every one of them is vitally important. And you just have to make your priorities to try to fit the needs of each and every one of you that are equally as important in my eyes. I can just guarantee you that. And you just try to service and make you the best that we can and make the best choices to serve the most people at the same time. Thank you.
I don't believe that I can designate. Again, I like to ditto what Mr. McPherson said. designate one group and say one's better than the other. We're all in this together. We all live here. The only one, the one dog that bit me in Boulder Creek, he crashed through the bottom of a screen door and bit me. He's out. But everybody else, I'm 100% behind, and that's it. I mean, if you say who's the most important, and not only that, the successful people. I want I want them to create jobs. I want them to invest their money to create jobs in the county, and especially the poor people that need money as well. Yeah, I mean, I have walked around a lot, and there are many homes that are in disrepair. We're a fixer-upper capital here in San Lorenzo Valley, and I want to. That's when I moved here. I said, wow, we're gonna, everybody's gonna fix up their house, and I'm still fixing up mine until it's never ending project. So, but that's my vision of the future. Thank you.
What have you done for the young people of our communities? How will you initiate new programs for our youth?
To cooperate with this district, with this community, whether it be in the upper San Lorenzo Valley, whether it be in Scotts Valley, wherever it may be. And throughout my life, I have committed, my wife and I of 44 years, who's a teacher, I have focused my attention mainly on education, because I think it's a basic ingredient where if you provide a good education for our youth, they will prosper, they're more likely to prosper, and they'll be given an equal chance to prosper. My wife and I established a dropout prevention program. This is not just a couple of years ago, this is the 1980s, and where you have a teacher and a counselor get together with the student and the parent and try to figure out what makes this student in the second or third grade where you can tell. We established an endowment in our son's name for athletic opportunities. So people can play in athletics. When I think those extracurricular activities are vitally important to our youth. And whether it be in athletics, or drama or music, we have to give them opportunities and recreational opportunities in general to have something outside of school. And we need to support our public education system, which I've done. I've been asked to be a signer on both the Scotts Valley parcel tax, which I've done. I've was asked to be one of 5 or 6 to be on the Santa Cruz parcel tax, which I've done. Because that is where we need to get them. And these 2 worker families that we have now, the education people outside of the family are really probably the people that the students look toward and our youth do. So it's supporting other segments of our system in education and giving them an opportunity.
I have an 8-year-old daughter, and yeah, and I'm thankful living here, and I'm honored Mr. George Wiley here. As I understand, he was key in rebuilding the library. Is here, and I'm all in favor. I'm really interested in the safe route bike path to schools to build that. I'd like to make sure that that is built. That's kind of big with me because I'm growing up in where I did. We had nice bike paths, and it not only to transport yourself to school, but it also helped with physical education and well-being. But I really when my daughter, when we were trying to decide, my wife was kind of like we wanted to go to these different private schools and look at that, but we didn't really have the money, and her whole family is all retired school teachers, and so I frequently see my old teachers from high school that are friends with my wife's parents. So, but I'm obviously I'm running, I'm very community involved, so I said no. Growing up, I was in Boy Scouts, et cetera, and so I was always been very community involved. And so I'm very highly supportive of schools to make sure we did have the best schools. California had the best schools, and it's true. And we let them go. We're letting the state parks grow. go. We're letting go the things that are really important to California, and it needs to be stopped. It basically needs to be stopped. We need to keep the money going there, but we need to maybe look at cutting things that are ineffective, and that's what I'd like to concentrate on. Thank you.
What I've done, I've built a park with the help of our community that is utilized every day by a multifaceted group of kids, from preschoolers that are going out there as a daycare programs to older kids that are playing soccer with their parents. You know, we did a $350,000 renovation out at Gearhand Park, which is huge with the youth. I ran a youth program through Boulder Creeks and Park 15 years ago. You know, started out there doing dance nights and working on a safe place for kids to go. I used to walk from Boulder Creek Elementary down to that rec department and shoot baskets when I was 6, 7, and 8. It's amazing that it's still there, providing the same level of service. I started a teen center in Felton that operated for 7 years, that was started by myself, Barbara Springer, Jeff Almquist, 5 or 6 other leaders within this community. We offered a skate park and a BMX park, and we had a teen center. I've worked with Santa Cruz City in the creation of its teen center and doing joint groups and joint programs between Boulder Creek Parks and Rec, San Lorenzo Valley Youth First Teen Center, and Santa Cruz. The youth is my passion. You know, this community needs to support it. And in order to do that, one of the things that have been high on my list, and I will see this happen in this community, I want to see a youth center, community center, built here in the San Lorenzo Valley. A state-of-the-art center like is being built down in Live Oak. We need that here. We need it now. It's outdated. You will see me make that happen. Thank you.
I just want to say that I want to try to provide an alternate vote. You know, I'm a newcomer, and this is a big learning experience for me. But I do feel that I have looked at carefully, and I do have some good plans involved. And I really don't believe, for one, you don't want somebody to pay somebody to make frequent trips up to Sacramento to try to find money that's not there, or oversee a realignment plan that basically that sounds like a job that I could fit in a day at the golf course with and do at the same time. And but my plan to create this Board of Economic Development, I really feel that this will be very helpful, and it won't cost a lot of money. And also I didn't finish, but it will also, the county has involvement with education, so I want to expand vocational training in schools. I also want a team of people that will research companies that possibly would be interested in relocating to Santa Cruz County. No single supervisor is going to be able to do that. And then also look at the county, and that's a very complicated situation, to look at the county, make it more customer friendly and orientated, make it more effective, and spend your money wisely. That's the goal. And also look at all these various departments and make sure that it works effectively as possible. And like I said, this board, the county government is sorely lacking of people with business experience and expertise, so this board would consist entirely of those people. And this is my idea, and like I said, is bringing it to the table, bring it to the Board of Supervisors to perfect and to maybe make some changes, but I believe it's something that will be very helpful. Thank you. We can keep Santa Cruz weird, but let's start making it smart. Vote for Bill Smallman. Thank you.
I'd like to thank everybody for coming tonight. I'd like to thank the Chamber and the Press Banner for giving us an opportunity to come out and speak to our community. In closing, I'd like to say I think it is extremely important that our next supervisor come from the San Lorenzo Valley. We have the biggest geographical area. We have the most underserved area. We lack a multitude of services. I am the right person because I have lived in this community. I can relate to the majority of the people that live in this community. I am raising 6.5-year-old twins and a 13-year-old son. I have the passion, I have the drive, and I have the ability to lead for decades to come. That is important in planning. I can start a plan, I can see it progress, and I can see it to its ending point. I have the support and endorsement of the Democratic Central Committee, the Democratic Women's Club, Luis Alejo, Bill Monning, the majority of the unions, and more importantly, I have the support of local leaders here today that are fire chiefs, that sit on our local fire boards, that sit on our water boards, that sit on our parks and rec boards. I have endorsements from our local school boards. These are the leaders today that are running and helping build community here. I am a community builder. I get things done. When people need something done in this community, they come to me and I reach out and I help get it done. I look forward to receiving your vote June 5th. It's time for a change in this community. It's time to have a local voice out of the 5th District, and Eric Hammer is that choice. Thank you.
Thank you. I think we need somebody also that knows the 5th District well and the San Lorenzo Valley, and I feel very confident in the knowledge that I have earned and through my business life, and as a newspaper reporter and editor for 26 years who wrote about it, wrote opinions, stories about it, and then opinions about it. As your representative in the State Assembly, the State Senate, and as California Secretary of State, I came home all the time. I love this place. I'm a 4th generation Santa Cruz native. I feel like I know the valley very well. And I think that I would serve it well. And there's no question in my mind that the Upper Valley, from Felton on up, needs the most attention, because who you elect is going to be your representative, your chief elected representative, your most locally operative elected representative. And I think that the experience that I have of knowing how the system works or sometimes doesn't work, the knowledge of the issues that I've maintained or attained since I've been in the news business, in elected office representing you, I think I'm very well positioned to really represent you well, and I do think it counts of who you know in the state, in the federal level, because whether you like it or not, realignment is happening, and the state is pushing more responsibilities down to us. And I think I have earned the respect from many, many people, as I mentioned, Sheriff Wolwack and the Deputy Sheriff's Association, nearly every member of the Santa Cruz and Scotts Valley City Councils, the fire protection leaders, current and retired, community business leaders, and distinguished environmental leaders, including Renee Shepard, Jack O'Neill, and many, many more. This is an important election. We need to make sure that the 5th District and the Upper Valley gets its fair share of attention, and I ask for your vote on June 5th. Thank you.